Hey guys, DMS here. Today I have for you the Topping A50S. Let's check it out. Topping A50S. So, this is a small, affordable amp from Topping. I say affordable, it is $200. I got this unit from Apos Audio. There are other things on their site available. They have an ensemble setup, which is essentially the A50S with a DAC and a power supply. So you can use this with an external power supply, but I haven't tried it that way, so I'm just using it as it is, nothing else. Right now, the DAC that I have it hooked up to is the D90, and I've been using this for a while. Right now I have it plugged up to my custom Diana. This is using a 4.4 Pentagon because this has 4.4 millimeter balanced and a 1/4 inch or 6.3 millimeter single-ended. On the front there is a power button which you press and hold to turn off, or you just tap it to turn it on, and you can tap again to toggle between low and high gain, which is plus 6 decibels. The volume pot, while this knob is very small, does feel pretty good. I would say that sure, it's nice when you have a bigger knob, but it contributes to the low profile of the amp because, as I'm sure you can tell here, this is a very thin amp. This is it next to my phone. Like, this is not a tall amp. It is thinner than most of the DACs that I have laying around. While it's balanced out, it is single-ended in, so this is not a true balanced amp, but you can use it as a preamp, which is nice. And I really don't care that it's not true balanced, especially at its price point, but if you're using this and you want power out of it, you should be using the balanced output. The balanced output of this thing is, just for comparison, half volume on high gain on balanced is the same as half volume on balanced for medium gain on the Topping A90. On this specific headphone anyway, this is around 50 ohms, and I'm getting the exact volume levels from half volume, high gain on the Topping A50S as I am, at half volume, medium gain on the Topping A90, and that is a pretty decent bit of drive. This is a pair of headphones that I often recommend people get with a several $1,000 amplifier. Well, I say several $1,000s, $1,795. That's the amplifier I normally recommend for this headphone. It's the GSX Mini. And I am very happy with how it sounds on this $200 A50S. Now, I'm also very happy with how it sounds on the Element 2, but if I'm being completely honest here, this does drive it better than the Atom, EL2, or the Element 2. Now, there are different characteristics in sound from this to that, and I will talk about that a little bit, but the biggest takeaway from this point in the video is that this is putting out an incredible amount of driving power, which is interesting because on paper there's a lot of cheap amps that can match this as far as specifications are concerned. In fact, this is very similar on paper to the L30, but the L30 really struggled when I put this exact same headphone on it. Right here, when I plug it up to the Pentagon out, I don't have to get much volume on it at all before I feel like the headphone is being driven not only properly, but effortlessly, which I can only attribute to either minor changes in power delivery or architecture inside of this unit. Something in here is different, and it shows. And the sound characteristics of this are very reminiscent of the A90 when I'm on medium gain, with the exception that I feel as though this is slightly brighter sounding than the A90, but in the extremely high ranges. We're talking a little bit more energy in the like 12, 13K plus ranges, and not significantly so. I feel like there's like a decibel, maybe more of energy in those ranges. I don't necessarily think this is producing more of those frequencies. However, the headphones that I plugged it up to all seem to be more excited in those frequency ranges than they were on the A90. Now, comparatively, between the A50S and things like the EL2 amp or the Element 2, I find that the A50S does feel like it is driving them more effectively. I feel like the A50S is a bit more what I would say is clinically transparent. I would say that the sound characteristics for headphones that are not hard to drive is likely more enjoyable on the EL2 or the Element 2. However, I do think that this is producing something that is more accurate, I would say. That said, I am still using an Element 2 at my other computer in the other room. I still love that amp, and I use it all the time. Now, between the two, if I was driving this headphone, I would pick the A50S. If I was driving just anything that's very hard to drive, I would pick the A50S. And I think if I was using something like, say, a Focal Clear, maybe a Focal Alex or an Alegia, a Beyerdynamic like a DT1990, or even the 560S. I would say a lot of those headphones on this would add up to being an extremely transparent and honest system. Now, like the L30, you're going to want to make sure the DAC is outputting the proper amount of voltage to power this amp's inputs, otherwise you're going to get a weaker signal. I'm using this with a D90. I have tried it with a variety of other DACs and it still seems to hold its own, but it does do best with a DAC that is intended for the same level of interconnects. There's a whole spec sheet on this headphone. You can look that up if you want. I don't particularly care about the spec sheet. I care about how it's going to sound sitting on my desk. But if that is your thing, it is extremely low noise. It puts out about 3.5 watts, which, by the way, on the site, the spec sheet says L30 at the bottom. They really are extremely similar amps on paper, and I don't understand why they perform so differently out in the wild. I actually think that I would also really enjoy this with vinyl on the antithesis of my Little Dot. You can see back here behind my computer is the Little Dot Mark II. I almost feel like the Little Dot Mark II and this A50S are polar opposites. The Little Dot Mark II is just like, it adds stage and it's really easygoing and it doesn't have a lot of power, but it gets the job done. And then the A50S is just like the surgeon's knife, clinical precision and a lot of power. No, it's not the surgeon's knife. This is the robot that did surgery on a grape. It has the precision for surgery, but if you press the right buttons, it has the power to split concrete in a very, very, very small package. This thing is like the size of an Apple TV. I think it goes without saying that budget amplifiers are getting better and better and better. This is going to, of course, get a very strong recommendation. The link is going to be in the video description for Ampos Audio if you want to check it out. It is, like I said, quite literally a little brother to the A90, which honestly gets you a good portion of the way to the A90's performance. I don't have any comment on if you should run it with the external power supply or not. The recommended configuration I'm going to say is the amp as it is with a matching DAC, because I haven't tried the external power supply yet. If I get around to that, I'll let you guys know how it is. But I think I'm going to pick this guy up and move him into the other room with my other computer. And then that means that I'm going to put the EL2 in my office. I gotta have an amp in every room. Real quick, I'll run you guys through some of the headphones that I have powered this with, and if you want to know, will this power blank, I'm gonna tell you right now. Modhouse Argon, yes, balanced. DT8 8600 ohm, yes, you should probably run it balanced. You can get away with it on the single-ended, but it really sounds better on the balanced output. You notice a little bit of a trend here. These, yes, balanced. HE5XX, yes, single-ended. You can get away with single-ended on that headphone, but I think it still sounds better on the balanced output. Recurring trend, if you can run your headphone balanced, run it on the balanced output. It's just gonna sound a little bit better. At least on this amp. I'm not saying balanced is better. Don't hold me to saying balanced is better. I'm not saying balanced is better. The balanced output on this amplifier sounds better than the single-ended output on this specific amplifier. I think that's because it is driving headphones with more ease. Now that said, I did put this in low gain and plug up IEMs to the single-ended output. I still had to reduce the output of the DAC a little bit, just because this is a pretty powerful amp still. Maybe not as powerful on the single-ended output, but IEMs are exceptionally easy to drive in that case. But I never was able to really pick up on this amplifier's noise floor because it's so crazy low, so at least that's nice. DT1990, easily. R70X, I really want to try on this, but I think that it would power it fine off either. I would probably still prefer it balanced. You get the idea. We could roll through a lot of things here. This will probably power it. It's almost a problem. I struggle to find bad things to say about amplifiers now because amplifiers are just getting so good this year. I guess I just like everything now. I don't know. I don't know what's up with that. I don't know. I didn't love the L30, but I do love the A50s. And I think that's going to wrap this video up. So, if you like this video, please leave a like down below, a comment letting me know what you want to see in the future. If you want to get active in the community, you can at forum.hifiguides.com. As always, don't forget to stick around and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Until the next one, guys. Peace.